Today I'm bringing you along on about a 3-hour drive. It's technically intervention free, the streak didn't reset, but I did have to press the accelerator at one point and the indicator on another. Neither of these were safety related, only navigational. I won't be talking throughout the whole drive, only in a few select places. You may see me do a thumbs down or thumbs up in the video. That's just a visual reference for me to go back through and point out a certain issue that I had on the drive. this destination I wanted to park in a car park. There obviously wasn't one available, so it pulled in a no stopping zone. I popped in the next destination and we took off again. The next destination here is Victoria Park. It's currently closed under development. I was hoping to have it try and park in the car park that was closed, but I must have got the pin wrong, so it just pulled up on the side of the street. I want to note that I had car park selected. It chose to park on the street, but it didn't park within one bay. It was actually taking up two. I popped in my next destination and then we took off again. On 14.3.3 as it stands, it seems to struggle with giving way to the right or knowing when to go or when to not go. You can see here it stutters. It makes for quite an uncomfortable ride. Once this bug's fixed, it's going to be much nicer. Coming up to this intersection, we're meant to be in the right lane to turn right. It couldn't make it over, so we proceeded in the going straight lane. Pay attention to the traffic lights. Once the light to go straight turns green, the car won't go. It still wants to turn right and cut the other cars off. So this is where I intervened, pressed the accelerator and just had it reroute itself. This isn't a zebra crossing here, but the car does decide to allow this woman to proceed before it stops at the stop sign. again with this destination, I chose it to park in the car park. We did pass one empty bay. It proceeded to come down the end to where trucks would turn around, and it did park itself there. So I did a thumbs down because it's not what we want it to do. It needs to park in a car park, not there. As I popped in the next destination, the car was hesitant to take off, so I had to give it a little bit of a nudge. The reason I prepared to take over in the next two construction on-ramps is because on a previous video from somebody else, their car did try and take them off the highway through it. And it's decided to take this off-ramp. It's not a problem, it can get us to where we wanted to go, but I just point out on the screen that we were actually supposed to take the following one. Like some previous clips, I just want to point out at this roundabout, when cars are coming from our right, the car is once again unsure whether it should or shouldn't go. At this park, I had chosen for it to park in a car park. It does pass one that we could have tried on our left. We then proceed around, it sped up quite a lot because there was markets on and there ended up being no park, so halfway through I changed the destination and just had us exit. So far I'm really liking the way it behaves around pedestrians. It's certainly very courteous to them. some, this would have been an intervention. It decided to join the highway, and then because it's on hurry mode, it wanted to overtake the slow cars in the merging lane. I allowed it to see that the merge lane was ending once again and allow it to come back over. I do want to point out that I have it on hurry mode, so I do expect it to make lane changes to make the journey as fast and efficient as possible. However, during this next period, it does make many lane changes which didn't improve its speed. It would move into the left lane when it thought there was a gap, and then it would end up coming back into the right lane. And this probably relates to what many people are complaining about in terms of unnecessary lane changes. This isn't a complaint from me because it is on hurry mode and this is how I would expect it to drive at the minimum, but from an outsider's perspective it probably makes me seem very impatient because I'm just going in and out of lanes. As you can see, we're travelling on the highway here behind some slow vehicles. Now the car, in my opinion, makes a mistake and then goes to the left into the merge lane from a different off-ramp to try and overtake the caravan. I allow it to correct itself, but this is the incorrect behaviour, and I would not expect the car to do this normally, so I do hope that this is a bug that can be fixed. Now the car takes the wrong off-ramp here, it's meant to take the next one. You'll see for a moment it puts the right indicator on trying to fix itself. I actually don't agree with this. In my opinion, if it takes the wrong off-ramp and it gets to a solid white line, it needs to just commit and then reroute. For this next scenario, there was a bus in front of us turning right, and the rear end swung out into our lane. Now, I don't believe the car took enough caution in terms of slowing down in case it intruded into our lane more. However, I was comfortable that it was going to not hit the car. With the scenarios I encountered, I watched very carefully and I didn't believe a crash was an outcome, and for those reasons I didn't disengage and report. I understand that many people will probably have a different belief. At this moment I get notified of a crash which is relatively close to us, so I reroute the Tesla to take us to the crash so I can encounter what the different speed profiles do when approaching emergency vehicles. You can see in the top right of the screen what speed profile we're in. For the majority of the drive it's hurry mode. You can see as it approaches this crash in hurry mode, there's only an ambulance but a few fire trucks behind it still approaching. The car still decides to proceed through this lane and it's doing about 43 instead of the 60 km/h speed limit. Now at this point I was just trying to put a new destination in to have it go back through the crash, because returning back through it we'd have to enter the wrong side of the road to get around it. So because of this it chose to pull into a driveway. The reason for waiting when reversing is there were still cars coming on the other side. When coming back through it this time, there's firefighters on the road putting cones out, and one of them is gesturing the car to slow down. It was driving past this accident slower than what it did the first time. Now at this point I had no intention of coming back through on different speed profiles. It was only till a little bit later that I decided to do that. Despite me wanting to come back through in different speed profiles, I do come back through on this pass in hurry mode again. You see in hurry mode it slows down as it enters what I'd consider the accident scene. In my opinion that's too late. It should be slowing down as soon as it sees the emergency vehicles on the side of the road. Once again, I was just choosing a pin that I thought would be the fastest. It decided to try and park in this industrial estate car park. You'll see it didn't do a very good job. It was on a diagonal. That wasn't the main part, but I did decide to point it out because parking was a new feature in this update. Now this is another pass on hurry mode, but you'll see that because we're leaving our lane and moving into the oncoming one, it's just a little bit slower than what it was coming the other way. Now I'm not sure why the car decided to pull over here. You'll see the indicator went on and I tried turning it off. I thought maybe an emergency vehicle was coming from behind, but it just allowed another car to pass before proceeding again, so this was a bit of a strange one. Again, this video isn't about parking, but I'm deciding to point it out because I filmed it. It chose to park in a disabled bay. So, look, I know it doesn't really have the capability to determine it yet, but I still thought I should point it out. This is the first pass in the standard mode. This one left me a little uneasy because there was a car going around the accident in our lane the wrong way, and I don't believe our car decided to slow enough to give them enough room. So in my opinion, I would prefer my car to slow down if it can see there's a car coming head on and just allow it to pass with a little bit more time. While watching it back, it doesn't look that bad, but usually the way these sort of accidents work when there's only one lane open is one lane goes, one stops, and then one goes and one stops. So my car should have come to at least a crawl in my opinion, having that car completely pass the scene and then I proceed. This isn't very scientific because I only did one pass in standard, I did 4 in hurry, and I'm going to do a pass in chill mode now. Once again, when it's our car going on the wrong side of the road, it seems to slow down more than what it does when it's proceeding in the correct direction of travel. Now, because I was just trying to drop pins to get the car to go back and forth without intervening, this one pulled over on the main road. I then asked it to go into the car park so I could do a U-turn. But it decided to do like reroute completely, so I had to put in the church again to go back and turn around. I was hoping maybe this time it parked in one of the many other car parks that wasn't a disabled bay. It still chose the disabled bay, but it didn't even park in the bay, it parked half in the bay and half blocking the footpath. We're now in Sloth mode. It's a mode that I never use. It usually sits 10 kilometers under the speed limit, and you'll actually see that a car behind me is getting quite frustrated with just general use, so I'm not sure why they've given us a mode that goes so slow. The reason I pointed out earlier that I wish my car would come into a crawl or at least a stop when there's cars coming head on the wrong side of the road to pass the crash is because in this clip it does the same thing but it leaves less of a gap. And it was travelling a bit slower, but I still think that it needs to establish that it's come to a slow or a stop before proceeding. still sitting around the 35 km/h mark when it goes onto the wrong side of the road to pass, which is what the other speed profiles did roughly. Now, in my opinion, the speed profiles haven't had much of an impact at all with this kind of scenario. Passing emergency vehicles stopped at a crash. You'll notice that hurry mode had very similar results to sloth mode, passing in both directions. I can't put up with sloth mode, so I put it straight back to hurry mode, and you'll see it speed up immediately. Now we're heading to the Springwood superchargers here, which are actually in the underground car park of the shopping centre. Now you can get it both from going straight and right here. The car chooses to go right, but then it goes to the upper level car park. Now I let it play out to see if it actually finds it, because if it had gone straight there, it actually would have found them. Instead, it decides to do a lap of almost every aisle of this upper level car park. So I let it continue because I'm hoping that maybe it'll then go downstairs and see if it can find it. It doesn't, and then it makes one of the worst parks that I've seen it do. Here you'll see it park in a child pram spot, which is a preference, it's not a rule, but the issue is how close it gets to the car next to me. It's not centered in the spot at all. Now I was watching very carefully, I didn't believe it was going to hit, and it didn't, so I let it play out. But considering parking was meant to be updated, I'm not sure why it felt the need to park like that and not correct itself. Because of this, I don't have much faith that it's going to find the superchargers here, so I put in superchargers up at Rochdale to have it reroute to there. Had it gone left where I just pointed, that's another entrance to these superchargers. Being in hurry mode, I would expect it to actually move into the left lane here and overtake these cars. It does on other occasions, I'm not sure why it didn't on this one. Because it didn't go around the other cars previously, I decided to indicate left to have it go around these cars at this set of lights. I just want to point out some of the speed related issues that I've encountered. One is that if it incorrectly identifies a speed sign and it's going slower than what it should, there's no way to override that. You can accelerate but you can only accelerate it for a few seconds before it tells you that it won't brake, and then it starts beeping and flashing at you. You'll notice here we're in hurry mode in a 70 km/h speed limit, and we're only doing about 63. Now I do have it set to park in the supercharger here. They're right in front of us here, but they're full, so it decides to just park in a bay. A car leaves, so I then put in the superchargers again and ask it to park, and it does reverse in, but it does have to correct itself.